Day 1, 5 hours and 46 minutes. The Kerbal Space Center is upgraded with a brand new tracking station, able to communicate very long distances, and the launch pad is also upgraded, allowing for very large rockets, and that is exactly what we need. Jebediah and Bob are the first two Kerbals to launch. And by launch we mean fire the rockets and head skyward to break the 70,000 meter mark and establish a proper orbit around Kerbin, the first in history. Bob engages in extravehicular activity, making sure that the Science Junior and goo canisters are A-OK from their ascent from the surface. The pockmarked moon rears its ugly head through the darkness as the Kerbals see that there is no atmosphere and landing here will be difficult. What is not difficult, however, is the sherbet-colored moon of Minmus, and there's a great landing spot there. Jebediah Kerbin is the first to plant a flag for all of Kerbal kind. Upon re-entry, the Kerbals like it hot as plasma and upper atmosphere shake, rattle, and roll our intrepid lander, keeping the Kerbals cool inside. Best of luck, boys. We'll see you shortly. And splashdown is moments away as we return from a successful mission. Jebediah and Bob go down in the annals of Kerbal history, bringing back 3,000 science from Minmus. What lies ahead for the Kerbal kind? Will they establish a geosynchronous orbit network of satellites to communicate with their future probes? Find out!
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Saka here, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. And when we last left off, we scienced the crap out of this place and got 3,031.1 science, so we can afford to spend some of that cool, hard science. Electronics would be good. There is our solar panels, rechargeable battery banks, and lights. We will definitely need some solar power. Miniaturization gives us some of the new robotics parts, so we'll go ahead and research that. Let's just get everything in this tier while we can. A lot of extra research and control stations. Got some RCS thruster blocks, inline stabilizers, and a new command pod. That is outstanding. New landing gear and legs and heat shields. We'll take that. Advanced construction gives us fairings, which we are going to need in this episode because we are going to try to establish a communications network in stationary orbit around Kerbin so that when we send probes out to the wild blue yonder and leave Kerbin's sphere of influence, they'll be able to talk to us. So more engines, more power, all of that good stuff. All right, heavy rocketry, outstanding. We can go all the way up to here without upgrading the science center, so we still got a few more to go. There is retractable photovoltaic panels and more thermal. I do like that. It'd be really handy for our probes and whatnot. Precision engineering for relay antennas, very important. Plus it gets us the next robotic part as well, the weather analyzer we can set up on Kerbin as well. Advanced exploration, processing lab, got some, a light scanning arm, sure. Sounds good. The command module. All right, so that gives us the Mark III. Space for 3 Kerbals, very necessary when we're going to the moon. We will take that. Specialized control, avionics hub, more monoprop and a Werner engine. We don't really need that as yet. Bigger heat shields and more strong landing struts. A light-duty rotor, making helicopters up in this piece. Sounds good. More wings and elevators, ailerons, that sort of thing. Air brakes. We'll need that for bigger space planes. Supersonic flight, the Mark II cockpit, nice and stealth-like. We'll take that. Actuators. Rotation servos, grabbing units, hinges. We don't need that as of yet, but it would be very good to get. All right, more fairings and girders and a docking port. That's going to be essential for space stations and whatnot. Better fuel, more fuel tanks. Can't go wrong with more fuel tanks, the Jumbo Max and all that good stuff. Precision. So these are the smaller engines that will be good for maneuvering little guys, little probes that we'll be sending out. And the Separaton is good for staging as well. Heavy rocketry. Yes, we will need all of these engines if you please. 550 science left. So we can look and see what else we have. Rechargeable battery banks and a fuel cell. Fuel and oxidizer convert to energy. Okay. Electronics for the seismic accelerometer. More science, more good. More communitrons and more robotics parts with the seismometer and the ground communicator, as well as a good relay antenna. We'll take that for 300 science. And let's see. Yeah, we can buy one more here, or we can save up for 50 science to get some more of this unmanned tech. I mean, that would be pretty good. The monoprop tank would be good. Actuators, hinges. I mean, that might be okay. We're not building any helicopters or whatnot. I think we'll go ahead and save the science while we're here, but a good chunk purchased in the Science Center. So let me build a rocket that will be capable of delivering 3 remote probes to synchronous orbit so we can get a relay station going. So I will be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think I might have something here. I finagled around with these satellites a bit, and this is our lifter stage. So we're going to be using the big parts here, and hopefully everything works okay. Let's just go ahead and call this the SAT. Sure. We'll save that. Launch. Now we do have a probe core here, so we should be able to deorbit this thing and get it, the junk out of the atmosphere as best we can. So hopefully everything works out here. SAS on, full power. 3, 2, 1, go. Now picking up speed quite well. I do like the look of that. We've got the fuel lines running into this skipper. It's not the mainsail. But we should be okay. We just basically need to get into orbit and then establish a period to where we can drop off those 3 satellites as we keep going around, So we'll do 3 laps around the planet, distributing one of the satellites every lap, and by the end of it, hopefully we will have an equilateral triangle. Yeah, this rocket's pretty stable, I do have to say. There is the fairing starting to get some of that, the shock here. Hopefully the skipper can continue on. We may be lacking fuel a bit, but as long as we keep picking up speed, we'll be able to circularize with the skipper and be okay. Now go ahead and pitch over. The prograde is following us. Here goes our lifter section. There. That's one way to clean it up, I guess. And yes, we have a full skipper tank. And we are go. So 3,300 meters per second. We might as well circularize as we can. So let's get up to about 200K if we can. Let's just turn prograde and get that speed going. Now hopefully we have enough fuel for this thing. I think we may. But once we get up to 200K, we can finagle with our ultimate apoaps and our ultimate periaps. We'll just stability assist and pitch over to the 90 if we can. Yeah, we're going to be using a lot of fuel to get up into orbit. Let's go ahead and pop that fairing with our satellite dishes. We're starting to get the hospital wobbles, so I'll shut the rocket down until we get further out of the atmosphere. Well, we're already out of the atmosphere, but I guess just the sheer amount of force that this engine gives is tremendous. All right, we want to make sure that we don't fall back into Kerbal sphere of influence here. So I will boost just enough to get us above the atmosphere, so 30-second burn, hopefully. All right, SAS off. Let's go ahead and get these solar panels deployed so we don't run out of electric charge. I should have put them on an action group, but to each their own. Nice, so solar panels are extended. We won't worry about the solar panels on these guys just yet. And we are a little bit away from our maneuver node, so let's go ahead and point to our him. Yeah, this thing doesn't have the torque, but it's doing okay. Luckily, we have those solar panels there to keep our electric charge ready and going. This little probe core is doing everything it can. And then we will burn for those 30 seconds and start to get into a synchronous orbit. All right, here we go. We'll burn at T-minus 15, so SAS on. Point prograde. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go for broke. Yeah, this thing is really starting to wobble. Maybe we should have strutted it up a bit. All right, so we can't go full bore on this skipper. But that's fine. We just want to circularize our orbit for now. Then we'll do some fine techniques to actually get us in an orbit that, whoa, easy, buddy. Get us into an orbit that will allow us to deposit these satellites one at a time and get this satellite network up and running. That is the hope and goal. There's our para-apps climbing. And that'll be good enough for government work. We are not going to fall back into the atmosphere. So next step is to get our apo-apps up to geosynchronous height. And then these guys have engines that can circularize and carry them the rest of the way. Let's just freeze your motion there for a second, good sir. So we've got 2,100 meters a second in the rocket. That should be more than enough. So I'm going to do some quick calculations here and be right back with you for the maneuver. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have burned up to geostationary height 2863, and 333 meters is actually the thing, but once we are the satellite, we'll be able to fine-tune that. I've also used this handy-dandy room to maneuver thing to get my period of our projected orbit at 4 hours, because it takes Kerbal 6 hours to rotate around, and 6 and 4 both go into 12. So, you know, 4 hours it takes me to go around, I'll launch the next one. 4 hours to come around, I'll launch the next one, and then we should have 3 satellites in stationary orbit. So all I would have to do is raise up the periapps of the satellite when we get here to stationary orbit, and then this rocket will fall in and be 1/3 of the way ahead, or behind, I guess it would be ahead of the satellite that we just dropped off. So that's going to be 262.8 meters per second that we are going to need. And luckily we have 1,500 meters per second, so we should be in like a dirty shirt. Let's go ahead and warp to the next maneuver. We'll stay right there by that maneuver node. We're in no real big rush to do this maneuver. We're at 75,000 meters and really shooting up there. And then once we get close to the maneuver, we just have to go the 262 meters per second. All right, let's point prograde with our rocket, if you please. It's going to be a 7-second burn, so hopefully this thing doesn't wibble wobble out of shape. That would be detrimental to our cause. All right, let's go ahead and fast forward until we get to T-3. And then we can fine-tune our orbit to make sure its period is 4 hours. 5, 4, boom. 1001, 1002. Stay right on that prograde cut. All right, chillax. Be cool now. We'll just use that physical time warp to stop them. And as you can see, our orbit right now is 3 hours and 57 minutes. So we need to raise up this period just a bit. So once we get back to prograde, we will very slowly give her the gas until we are at a 4-hour period. And matter of fact, RCS might be needed here. 5:59:53, we're going to turn on RCS, we'll SAS off, and we are just going to move forward. There we go, 4 hours on the dot. So next time we come around, we will be able to release the first satellite and get it on its way. We want to do that at the Apoaps, and everything should be cool. So let's go ahead and warp here right before our Apoaps and get ready to launch the first of our satellites. All right, here we come. Time to Apoaps is right here, 7 seconds away. Let's just go to this first decoupler. Excuse me. And decouple. All right, let's get the solar panels out. We should be ready to transmit. And then all we need to do is point us in a direction, which should be prograde. Oh, we need to activate our engine. Engine activate, please. There we go. And now we just need to get it up to the 2863. All right, easy does it now. All right, so we went a little high. We can fine-tune that. Our rocket is fine. It's going to continue on its way and come back. So we basically have the entire orbit to shake this out. All right, little guy. Add a maneuver, and we want to go down to 2863. And this is just going to be very fine-tuning. Probably once we get here, I'm just going to look at our periaps and look for 2863. All right, warp to our next maneuver. All right, extend the antenna. And hopefully we have good connection here. Although, if we're playing on easy, we might not actually need it, now that I think about it. But it's good practice. All right, we're here on our periaps. T-minus 35 seconds until. And we can, well, we'll need to go retrograde to bring our Apoaps down. And we need to get it down to 2863. All right, here we go. 28.7. Let's actually use our RCS thrusters. All right, SAS off. Oops. All right, SAS on. Get back to the retrograde. Probably need to go prograde, and we just need to squeeze a little bit out of this guy. We'll put thrust limiter down to 3.5. All right, 2863. Outstanding. So now we just need to get to our periaps and do the same thing. So I will go ahead and do that and be right back with you. All right, change of plans. Our other satellite was going to get there before this guy. So we're going to do this first, put them in orbit, and get them their apoaps increased. And then we should be okay. Maneuver mode, please. All right, 44 seconds away from the apoaps. All we have to do is separate this guy, wash, rinse, and repeat. So once we get prograde, we're going to go ahead and do that. And decouple. We'll activate our engine here and be good to go. All right, we need our periaps risen to 2863. And away we go. Yeah, this thing is off balance just a bit. We'll raise up our periaps a bit. And we should be in like a dirty shirt. Let's extend these solar panels so our boy don't die. Or we only have one on this guy? Okay. All right, so once again, our apoaps is a little bit higher. Let's swap to our other satellite and see how it's getting along. Crap, just passed its apoaps. Let's go prograde just a little bit and see if we can raise that up. All right, so 2864 and 2862. It should even out and average out. You know, we don't need really fine tune, but it would be nice. But I'm not going to worry too awful much about it because it looks like we don't even need to communicate with anybody. But it's a good practice to get into. So let's switch to the other relay here and get it circularized. Well, not this guy, but the other guy. Satellite debris. Oh, that's our shroud. Yeah, we need this guy. And then we will work on circularizing him, and I'll be right back with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, all that's left to do is tidy up these three little satellites' orbit. You can see they all come out to the apoaps, but there is some orbit cleaning up to do. And speaking of cleaning up, we are not going to let this big honkin' fuel tank sit out here in space. So we do have a probe core attached, and all we're going to do is turn retrograde and deorbit the thing in the planet, let it burn up. We'll put it deep in the atmosphere. And get a fireworks show. So I will be right back with you when we get there. All right, we are set now for an 18,000 meter approach. Let's go ahead and warp closer to the planet and watch the show. This guy still has 1,500 meters a second in its engine, and it's done beautifully. Don't get me wrong, we established a good network here. It's just a shame that we can't use it to its full potential, but maybe I can go into the save game and turn on the need for radio transmissions, because I would hate to do that for absolutely nothing. But first, we have this guy to attend to. Now, place your bets on whether or not this thing will make it to the surface. That is indeed the question. Looks like it's going to come down over the mountains. I know those solar panels definitely won't last, possibly not the batteries either. But we put this thing deep, 18K. There goes the solar panels breaking off. And it does look like, indeed, this thing will slow down just in time. I'm not seeing any heating. And we are coming down like, well, a rocket. Tell you what, let's burn up the rest of this fuel as well. So that we have an empty basic tank slamming into the ground. Let's go radar altitude. And there we go. All fuel expended. We will come crashing down in a blaze of glory. Let's go ahead and just speed up time and see where we land. Hopefully nothing survives. We're coming down at 300 meters a second or thereabouts, 280 into the water. Yeah, we're breaking the sound barrier as we come plummeting down to the ocean. Sayonara Lifter Stage, you were amazing, good sir. But it is time to bid you adieu. And can we recover that? Can we get something back? All right, let's go to the tracking station. Make sure our three satellites are up here, and yes, indeed they are. So I'll go ahead and tidy these up and be right back with you when I get them fairly close. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we are not exactly where we need to be. We can see that we are 0.8 degrees off. We could probably level that out, as a matter of fact. Why not? Let's go here to our descending node and add a maneuver. Let's see if we can level this boy out some. Let's see, descending node 0.3, 0.2. Our anterior and our ascending and descending node flipped. So that would put us, what? Right there on the mark, 13.4 seconds. All right, seems like a plan. And it's only going to be 0.8 seconds, and unfortunately our little probe can't go normal or inclined. But we can speed on up there and level our approach just a bit. We'll wait until T-1. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crack the throttle. And there we go. We should be lined up. Yeah, 0.0 to that guy. Set this as a target. 0.0 to that guy. So all of our satellites are nice and level. Not exactly equilateral, but these two are okay. It just makes me wonder if I was to set a maneuver node and just go through the orbits here. Yeah, it looks like they are ever so slightly moving, but I mean, we would have to play for a very long time for that to be a thing, for sure. But we've got a satellite network set up. So, like I said, what I want to do is probably off screen. I'll see if I can turn on the need for a relay so that we can see all of this in action and be just a little bit more realistic. I might have to modify the save file, and I'll see how to do that. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a pretty good satellite network, I think, to set off for the great beyond. If we didn't need the satellite network, then more power to us. In the next episode, we've got some tests that we can do. We have to get scientific data from around the moon, and we have to explore Minmus, dock two ships together. So if we can, I'd like to get an Apollo-style lander set up to where we can go do science data from around the moon and then shoot to Minmus and then do a rendezvous, dock two vessels together for all that science, and we should be good to go. But that will do it for me in this episode of Kerbal Space Program, ladies and gentlemen. We are setting the groundwork for probes and rovers, and we may mess with those robotic parts next time and see what those experiments are all about. But that will do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next Kerbal Space Program video. Take care.